Well, we're going to have to talk about Sunday, aren't we? We're going to have to talk about the battering that should have been another six goals for City, which, because City weren't that good, is why the scoreline was kept reasonable. It was that bad. We were shown mercy, not because Manchester City wanted to hold themselves back, it's just because they weren't that good. It wasn't. Imagine that as a United fan in 2025 in a Manchester derby, say the only reason it wasn't six was because Manchester City weren't good enough on the day to hit us for six. They just weren't good enough on the day to hit us for six. If we're sat here right now and looked at the data sheets, the stats, people would have thought, oh, unlucky United, unlucky. Those stats you see for United only really occurred when City basically packed up the game and just went home. They might just sub on the entire youth team, and United wouldn't have done anything. And it begs the question now, since we're no further from the exact point where Ruben Amorim was appointed, where are we going, United? Where are we going, Ineos? What is the future? What do we do now? Right? I tell you what, the last time that City scored six against us was under Ten Hag, where we lost 6-3. 6-3 under Ten Hag. A Haaland hat-trick and a Foden hat-trick. Well, guess what the two goal scorers were today? Oh, not today, on Sunday, rather. Haaland and Foden. And what's crazy to me is the goals they scored were rather easy. I mean, hand those chances to even a league. Hand those chances back to Grimsby Town, they're burying them. They're burying them. That's where we are. If it was Grimsby Town and they had the same chances, we would have lost 3-0 that day. It wouldn't have changed anything. It wouldn't have changed anything. The players just didn't want it. They just didn't want it. And this is one game a week, United, as well. So we have to stew on this for a week before we go off, play Chelsea at Old Trafford, and get the absolute shit kicked out of us. Because I don't see us winning that game, since the atmosphere around the club is now tumultuous again, is now in the gutter again. Why should we beat Chelsea? You know, they drew 2-2 with Brentford. And people think, oh, well, at least they won't be, at least they're not as good. But that's just it. Manchester City might have drawn 2-2 with that Brentford side. Teams don't need to play to smash us. They just don't need to play. They don't even need to take to the field. It's as if we just forfeited because we didn't have a starting 11. You might as well have done that. Would have saved us all the trouble if that was the case. But no. The club insist that that they're convinced. They're convinced that there are, that we're losing by marginal differences, right? If one thing's different in this moment, the game goes in our favour. If this moment was slightly different, we'd be in a really comfortable position. They're talking about fine margins. What about losing 3-0 to City? Whilst we should have lost by 6, 6 or even more, who knows, right? What is it about that scoreline whilst you're sat in the Etihad watching your team get ripped to pieces and made a mockery out of? What about that is fine margins? Just because it's not the size of the gap of the Grand Canyon should not insinuate that we are not worlds apart from where we should be or what we should be doing. And it's not made at all better by Ruben Amorim saying, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to do anything different. It's about player commitment. So we're just going to wait for a bunch of mercenaries to feel like they need to turn up. But here's the kicker. There's a load of players that you could have played that would have much given you less of a reason to believe that that there were mercenaries on the pitch. Players that you should have started. Players that subs wise, even if you stuck with your starting 11, subs that you should have opted to go with but didn't. You didn't do that. You're messing around with a defence like for like switching when you should be making substitutions to impact the game on the offensive because you were 2-0 down at that point. Oh, and one of those like for like substitutions got cooked to make it go from 2-0 to 3-0. Absolutely eaten alive. So we can now acknowledge you're making mistakes every week with substitutions. So you don't actually know what your team is. And that's a problem for a manager. Because I've said this numerous times with Ten Hag. The situation may be bad, but God, does a Man United manager know how to make it all the worse. You know how to make it worse, right? Persistence with everything that's wrong about this team. But you're happy to go down this route. See Manchester City, the substitutions they made, keeping things fresh, keeping things, keeping the ideas going, different phases of the game, different type of players you bring on. Ruben Amorim's just throw something on the pitch, mess around with positions, and just hope that something sticks. There's no real method to the madness. Like Mazraoui goes off for Kobbie Mainoo. So what you're not changing, by the way. Bit weird. Yoro comes off for Maguire. Sub made absolutely no sense. Literally no sense whatsoever. Your next sub was Benjamin Sesko coming off for Joshua Zirkzee and then switching Casemiro for Ugarte. So two like for likes. Rather than commit more players by sacrificing the centre back to add a player to midfield, but you didn't do that. You sacrificed a wing back to put a midfielder on. So who was wing back then? Ahmad? And then Bruno pushed forward. But that's not necessarily inviting control to take the momentum away from City. You're not inviting anything with that. You're just leaving yourselves all the more exposed, and then to back it up by then subbing someone with legs for someone who hasn't got legs. And unless Lenny Yoro had a knock or was injured, Subbing him off made no sense. My guy, he's not playing midweek. We're too shit to play midweek. We are too shit to play midweek. Can't the first midweek fixtures we got are Premier League fixtures when the schedule gets hectic. And then the next ones after that are FA Cup. There's no Europe and there's no Carabao. Right? There's none of that. One game a week United, and you're subbing players that don't need subbing. But you're leaving players on that shouldn't be here. Luke Shaw made 90 minutes. He was one of the most important players to get rid of in the summer. One of the most important players to get rid of. Because when there's been drama at United, guess who's also been present? Luke Shaw's always been there. Luke Shaw has always been a Manchester United player in the senior squad, and now he's in the leadership group. And it's rough rides at Manchester United, but Luke Shaw's just sat there like, and I'm going along for the ride. Yeah, I may or may not have contributed to some of the blueprints to that design. Them rough rides. I'm here. Yeah, that's Luke Shaw for you. And it's absolutely insane that what is it? It was the summer after Moyes got sacked that he came in from Southampton. So the start of the 14-15 season, that makes him 10 years. 10 years plus he's been at this club. He's still playing for 90 minutes. You would have thought that he would have actually had impact like a Kyle Walker, when in actuality, he's not had any impact at all. A brief run in the Euros, a brief run under LVG, everyone thought he was Shawberto Carlos. And he has no legs. So now he's playing as a centre-back, makeshift. He says he wants to be a wing-back, even though we know he hasn't got the legs for it. Gets caught out of position frequently. Gets played as a centre-back, because that's probably the only position he at all can play. But the manager plays him for 90 minutes. Aidan Heaven was on the bench. Aidan Heaven was on the bench. And you didn't even look his direction. And that's crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy to me. But that's where we're at. That is where we are at. Bruno Fernandes, the captain of Manchester United. I mean, the guy's finished. He's finished as a footballer. Just doesn't really know what he's doing here anymore. It's the same old story from Fulham. Same old story. Won't track his runner, will watch him run off into open space and watch him score, and then say in a post-match interview, rinse and repeat the same old cycle. That's not very captain-like of you, Bruno. If you were a striker as a captain and you saw a player unmarked, are you close to him? Yes. Oh, okay. Well, I'll leave my position to mark him and then berate my teammate who failed to do the simple task. Unfortunately, it's other players on that pitch that may have to look at you and berate you as a 30-year-old captain, failing to actually deal with very simple problems on a pitch. Very simple problems. And it's absolutely insane to me that you can do those things very deliberately, and you remain absolutely bulletproof. You could probably score a hat trick of own goals and celebrate them, and guess what? Your manager ain't going to take you off, and he'll start you next week. That there's a humbling reality for United fans. Your captain can be as out of form and as horrendous as he wants. Doesn't matter, because his manager's going to play him 24/7. So a player that really should have gone to fund an actual rebuild, being played forever by a manager that needs Bruno gone, but doesn't want him gone. It's a bit of a weird conundrum, this, isn't it? Doesn't sound like dots are connecting here, does it? So either it's Ruben Amorim is lying about wanting Bruno in this setup, and he's been told by Ineos to put that narrative out there, that this is how he feels, or he can't look past the national flag of Portugal and thinks, what if I've got a Portuguese player available, I might as well play him. Doesn't matter if they're doing well or not. It's the same thing with Dalot at wingback when he was absolutely tragic for us last season, but still playing non-stop. Just, you couldn't stop. Rehab wasn't working. It wasn't favouring you. Like an Amy Winehouse song. It tried to make me go to rehab, but I said no, no, no. So this is where we're at with United. Oh, and Bayern Deer started because Lammens, he's not ready yet. We've got to really bed him in. Take your time. Take your time. Well, at the same time Lammens came in, so did Donnarumma to Manchester City about the same time. And Donnarumma went straight into the team and already has made a strong statement impact. You know, didn't have to save Manchester City this game. He could have let in a couple of goals and nothing would have happened against Manchester City. They could have coasted even if Donnarumma was playing with the ball in his own goal. He could do whatever he wanted, and United still wouldn't have won that game. But he did make a very good save. You know, he showed why a goalkeeper that you believe is going to be a difference maker for you starts straight away, starts immediately. So that's where we're at. So one side of the coin, you've got Pep Guardiola, who's not got an amazing Man City team, not needing to be amazing. I mean, they play Arsenal next week, by the way. Man City play Arsenal. And do you really think that Man City is going to beat Arsenal? Got another thing coming on, mate. Got another thing coming. Arsenal, I think. Oh, yeah, Arsenal will cook that Manchester City team alive. They will, because hey, what Arsenal have that United don't is defensive discipline. What Man United don't have that Arsenal do are attackers that, when unleashed, will be very much potent. very, very potent. They've got a strong midfield, capable of transferring the ball from back to front, and a very sturdy team with players that will play positionally, mark their men, and a goalkeeper that commands his box. All the things United don't have. But I can't lie, man. You got Diallo and Bruno and Sesko as your front three. Even Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would look at that front three and think, "Oh, I can get that team scoring. I can get that front three scoring goals." And that's what's crazy, is he absolutely could. The pitfalls of Ole with his his lack of structured attacks, very fundamentally the pitfalls were fundamentally picking the wrong players, making awful partnerships, not knowing what his best team really was, benching talented players for players that were costing United week in week out, and sticking with that. It's like Bruno is for Amorim. Maguire was the same for Ole. Just infinitely playing, no matter how bad they are. But even Ole would take a team with a Sesko and Bruno and Diallo in and do bits with them. Imagine what he would have done with Cunha. That free-flowing attacking football. The not attacking football, the counter-attacking football. But one touch. Cunha can do one touch, and Bruno can do one touch. Sesko can do one touch. Hammer can do one touch. De Ligt can do one touch. Yoro can do one touch. Agate not so much. Casemiro can do one touch. Minu you can coach to do one touch. Mazraoui can do one touch. All of those players can play one touch football. Aiden Heaven you could coach to do one touch. Xerxes can do one touch. If Martinez was in the team, you could say he can carry it. Mason Mount, I don't even rate him at all. He's capable of doing one touch. So that's where that right there. I've just said a team that's capable of one touch football. Bruno Fernandes was doing one touch football, for crying out loud, under Ole. You see the amount of counter attacks that Bruno was involved with when he was at the club. The amount of times that Bruno, all the GAs and stuff, getting involved, featuring in those build-ups, was always there. I know it was very Route 1 and Bruno's a Route 1 player, but you did, as an individual, fundamentals that, you needed a team around him to do. Maguire couldn't do it. Luke Shaw couldn't do it. The right back at the time, I can't remember. I don't think it was Dalot. I don't think that. Actually, no, it might have been Dalot. Dalot might have been there, but I think he was playing Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka can't necessarily do one-touch football because he's not an offensive style of play. Fred could do one touch. McTominay wasn't a one-touch player. I can't remember who it was that played on left wing. Who played left wing and who played right wing under Ole? Edison Cavani would do some one-touch football. And Cavani, at his age, was great. He did a good job. He did. Edison Cavani under Ole did an alright job. He was fairly good. He was fairly good. That's crazy to me. It is absolutely crazy to me. But that's why under Ole, you had some cricket scores. You had some cricket scores, like Southampton 9-0. Even if they had a couple of red cards that game, 9-0. And it wasn't a special team. That wasn't a special team. Even Ollie would get the team scoring goals. Even that had the smallest glimmer of potential, which two factors, the club weren't the club were not hiring or signing players that would actually have been properly good for the team, short to long term. But you also had a manager that, despite that, again, like I've said, you take a bad situation, you could make it better. You could make it a little bit better, but you still make it worse. Crazy to me. But yeah, at least we got Chelsea next weekend. So yeah, one whole week to think about just how messed up of a club we are. Do you know what would be actually quite funny? Is if Amorim got sacked, right? If Amorim got sacked, just imagine this: that Ollie came back as an interim, and this time, let's see if it goes swimmingly well. Oh, would Omar Barada and Sergeant Ratcliffe pull the trigger too early again on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to make him full-time manager? Would they wait it out and actually see where does he actually get this team? You know, let's not back ourselves into a potential false flag operation with the manager. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on the game. Whether you guys think Amorim should be sacked, whether you guys think he should be kept. I know the rival fans would say keep Amorim, but 31 points in the Premier League since match day 12 last season. It's it's relegation form. No team has accrued less points from that match day that are still in the Prem today this season. There can only be 17 teams that feature in that statistic, and Manchester United are 17th. The worst run of form, Premier League wise, since we got relegated, or worst in the Premier League history, but worst since the the season we were relegated from top flight, and the lowest points accumulation for a manager, a Manchester United manager, since the Second World War. The worst points accumulation since the Second World War. Make of that what you will, guys. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe, and we'll be back again some point in the week. Definitely Wednesday night for the Sunday night. Sunday night? Wednesday night for the Sunday night. Wow, that's crazy time warping right there. But for the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly show on Wednesday nights, 7:30 start time. Let's see. Let's see how everyone's feeling. I know there's Champions League games on tomorrow night and Wednesday night. So, big teams, successful teams play football in European competitions. The bums and the rats play only on the weekends because we all suck at football. So yeah, make of that what you will. Take care, people. I'll see you guys next time.